So I can't believe it, but we've reached our last speaker. And our last speaker really needs very little introduction. Jeff Renner has served as the chief meteorologist and science reporter at King Television for 38 years. His work has taken him to the crater of Mount St. Helens, under Puget Sound, the Arctic, the Vatican, the White House. He's been awarded 9 Emmys. And more impressive than that, he's a Seattle Aquarium volunteer. Please welcome Jeff Renner.
The secret was not to move my lips, because that's when I'd start getting time, but now that's fair. There are times, there are places, there are experiences and encounters that can profoundly change the shape and the trajectory of your life. For me, that was summed up in 5 words. Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it. Mount St. Helens, May 18th, 1980, 8:32 in the morning. Hundreds of square miles were transformed into a moonscape, and I mean a moonscape. 57 people died. I was there. It's by no small amount of grace that I'm here with you tonight. My job expanded from being a science reporter to locating the missing and occasionally the dead. Let's fast forward 37 years. 3 of the 4 major hurricanes this year. The death toll, 253 at minimum, and that is almost 5 times the death toll of Mount St. Helens. Tens of thousands were left homeless, and many are still missing. But why so many hurricanes this year, and why so strong? The dark orange and red areas you see in this image, seawater 90 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. That's a trigger point we found for Category 4 and 5 hurricanes. Those ocean temperatures are increasing globally, and it's a trend not just this year, but that's been developing for years. Major interdisciplinary research confirms the link between ocean temperatures and more devastating hurricanes, and on a more frequent basis. The exact timing of the 2017 hurricanes, like the eruption, was off, but the forecast of their magnitude and their potential threat was spot on, and if anything, was under forecast. The parallels, to me, are striking. The change in sea surface temperatures we saw this year, of course, reflects changes in the atmosphere. The key is the increased levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Today's levels are now the highest since the beginning, the dawn of our species, 200,000 years ago. This graph shows the linkage between air temperature and CO2, and that so-called natural causes actually, if anything, would tend to oppose those increases. But the heating in the atmosphere is dwarfed by the heat in blue that's being absorbed by the ocean. Now, I've been fortunate to dive in some pretty spectacular places, places of history, places of drama, places of color and of beauty, and of vibrant life. But I've seen that personally change, and of course, we're seeing that change throughout the globe. Vast stretches of coral reefs, critical oases of life, are becoming wastelands, such as in this picture. The culprits of coral bleaching, like hurricanes, are rising sea surface and sea depth temperatures. Now add increased CO2, dissolved CO2 to the equation, and that's harming the ocean's ability to sustain life, and that includes ours. Now, I do serve, as Jim said, as a volunteer here at the Seattle Aquarium. And I've joined dives not only in here, as I will as Santa in a short while, but also out there. That's true. Increasing heat and CO2 are also impacting our waters right here in the Pacific Northwest. Biologist Joel Hollander.
The change in pH could change the calcium that's in the water that is readily available for the animals, or the high range of temperatures for a prolonged period of time could add to that stress. Sending down the messenger. All right, pull up.
A healthy pteropod is a vigorous swimmer. One with a dissolved shell barely moves. It's more vulnerable. An electron microscope shows large pits, even holes in the shell. Now, these changes are also impacting commercially important species, shrimp, clams, crab, and ultimately higher life forms higher up in the food chain, such as salmon and orca. As you consider what you can do, consider these words. In the end, we will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. That's the mission here of the aquarium. But I'd like to end as I began on Mount St. Helens, and a message from my friend David Johnston, who died on the mountain. He said, "Each day is a new opportunity to learn something new, to get better at what you do, and to use that knowledge, that skill, to help others." That I've carried as a charge all my career since then, and I would offer it up to each of you. Now, if you think yourself incapable of making that kind of a difference, consider this. If you think you're too small to be effective, you have never been in bed with a mosquito. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.